menyaksikan CNBC Indonesia bersama saya Safrina Nasution dan telah bergabung secara eksklusif di CNBC Indonesia, Mr. Michiel Sweers, Director General of Foreign Economic Relations, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands. How are you, sir?
Thank you, I'm fine.
A pleasure to have you with CNBC Indonesia.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for your time. So tell us about your 3 days visit here in Indonesia. What is your economic agenda while you are here?
Well, it's been an intensive 2 days so far, so I have one more day to go. So yesterday I had the pleasure to talk to the Dutch businesses in Indonesia. I met with the local Chamber of Commerce and I visited some projects in the harbour. So to see what's actually going on in Jakarta today, I had intensive meetings with colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other ministries to discuss cooperation between our 2 countries. And tomorrow I will visit your projected new capital. On Kalimantan, Nusantara, so I'm very much looking forward to that.
Wow, that was a very busy visit.
It is.
Thank you so much for carving out some time with an interview with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. So, what are actually the recaps or the highlights, or what are you most looking forward to during this visit here in Indonesia?
Oh, there have been many highlights in this short period. So I very much enjoyed speaking to Dutch businesses and the opportunities they saw and also the challenges they see in Indonesia. I really enjoyed seeing this project in the harbour and the enormous potential that we witnessed there, the expansion of the harbour and the role that Dutch entrepreneurs played there in terms of engineering, dredging, etc. So it really was very interesting to see the way Indonesian companies and Dutch companies cooperate there. And today I really felt a good atmosphere, good cooperation, a very cooperative spirit. We have an enormous range of projects and programs that we do together, all the ministries with the ministries in Jakarta. And well, I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Looking forward to tomorrow to see Nusantara.
Yeah, of course. It's a lot of colleagues here from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Jakarta. We're very interested to what I would see there tomorrow. So they asked me and I will send them their photographs.
Okay. What have you heard about Nusantara, sir, about this new capital city of Indonesia so far?
Well, it's an interesting project. It's an ambitious project. A lot of people will have to move there. So there's a lot of potential, a lot of opportunities that we see. But also it's challenging. I mean, it's a completely new city.
Yeah.
And of course, also there are questions that people ask. How is it going to be a sustainable city? So we know the ambitions of the Indonesian government. So I'm really looking forward to see with my own eyes what's happening there, what's it look like now, and what are the opportunities and what are the challenges there.
And you will know all of the answers to that once you visit it tomorrow.
All is maybe a bit too much for one day. So I hope to get some answers and to get some insights on what's actually happening there.
Okay, so in Nusantara, what will you do while you are visiting there? Whom are you going to meet and what are the things you're going to discuss? What are you looking forward to do there?
So we will visit several projects there, including the water dam that's being built there. We're going to see a water treatment plant, but also the center of the new capital. And we will discuss that with government officials that will be present there, but also with NGOs to hear about how they look at the project and the challenges over there.
Okay, and I hope you have a great time there, because your time is very limited and everything you're going to explore there and also meet a very prominent figure there to discuss more about the visit and also the Netherlands visit in there. So I would like to ask you about this. This is quite challenging for Indonesia, the separations of the city center between the government center and also the metropolitan center. But in the Netherlands, it has been done, the Hague and also the Amsterdam. What are the reasons for the separations from your country? As from your point of view, can you elaborate more of that?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. It's been this case for hundreds of years. In the past, the king used to live in The Hague, and the main economic center was Amsterdam. But it's not completely comparable with what's happening here in Indonesia. Okay. I mean, if I take a train from The Hague to Amsterdam, it takes me about 40 minutes. So it's closer than from one side of Jakarta to the other side. And the cities are not that big. I mean, Amsterdam is around 1 million inhabitants, The Hague 500,000 inhabitants, so it's completely incomparable with the ambition and the scope of what's happening here in Indonesia.
Yeah, because we have the capital city in a different island, and
yes.
You think it would be a challenge?
Yes, it's certainly a challenge to build a whole new city, but it's done before. I mean, you have other countries that moved their capital. Brazil is, of course, a well-known example. Nigeria is a well-known example. So it's done before, and I can see the reasoning behind it. I mean, Java is a very crowded island.
Very populated. Yeah.
Very populated area, and I can see that why you would want to spread economic development across the islands of Indonesia. So I see good reasons behind it, but I also see the challenge. I mean, it's a pristine island. There are concerns about deforestation. What will it mean? Well, we take in good note of the ambitions of the Indonesian government to make it a very sustainable city, a green city. So I'm really looking forward to how the Indonesian government is trying to manage that project.
Yeah, we want to hear from you, and we truly want to learn from you, as from the Netherlands point of view. How is the utilization between The Hague and the Amsterdams for Netherlands people?
I mean, in The Hague, it's all the ministries are based in The Hague. So the economic center of the Netherlands is Amsterdam, but I really think it's not really comparable with Indonesia. I mean, the Netherlands, the size of the Netherlands is so much smaller than Indonesia. The density of the population is more or less, I would say, comparable to what you see here in Java. There are very strong connections between the cities, so it's in a way it's a kind of big city, especially the western part of the Netherlands, with parks between it. So it functions like a network. A lot of people live in The Hague and work in Utrecht, or work in Amsterdam, or live in Amsterdam and work in The Hague, and they commute on a daily basis.
Oh, okay.
So
because it has very close proximity as well.
It's close proximity. There are highways, there are train connections, there are even metros. So between The Hague and Rotterdam, there's a metro line going. So I mean, it's really small scale, closely interlinked cities. With green spaces between them.
Mm-hmm. You said that this is your third times in Indonesia. Fourth times,
yes,
right? In Indonesia. Time. Your first visit here was in 1995?
Yeah, I guess somewhere. Yeah, I think around 30 years ago. Yeah.
30 years ago, wow. How do you think is the development here in Jakarta, and especially in Indonesia? Any notes from you?
Yeah. Well, of course, I developed myself. So 30 years ago, I was a young man. It was my first time in Asia. My first time in Indonesia, and I still can remember the impression that made it on me. So the tropical temperatures, the smell, the feeling of this world city that Jakarta was then.
Your visit was first in Jakarta?
Yeah, well, I was on a holiday for 3 weeks.
Okay.
So I visited Java and Bali. And if you come back now and you see what happened and the kind of the high rises you see everywhere, even if I compare it to the last time I was in Jakarta, which was around, I think 15 or 20 years ago, if you see the development in Jakarta, of course it's all gone up in the sky. The traffic has increased enormously, so it's a big difference.
Especially in Jakarta, very contrast development you've seen in the past 30 years.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I've been in Jakarta. And the last time I was in Indonesia was at G20 summit in Bali.
Yeah.
Well, I only saw a small part of Bali then, so it's. I can't say that I did see big parts of Indonesia over the last years, but I must say that the G20 in Bali also really made an impression on me on how well it was organized. I mean, it was really impressive to see how the Indonesian presidency organized this G20 summit.
Thank you, sir, very much for that impression. So in your opinion, what makes Indonesia is still very attractive for investment compared to other peer countries, especially in Southeast Asian countries?
Yeah, well, of course I've spoken with companies, so when you talk about investments, you primarily talk about companies that do private companies that do these investments. And I've spoken with quite a few Dutch companies. So what are the opportunities? What are the strengths of Indonesia, and also what are the challenges? Yeah. Well, Dutch companies really have an interest in investing here. So we are the Netherlands, private companies from the Netherlands. We are the biggest investor from Europe. So last year we invested over 1 billion euros in Indonesia, Dutch companies. And they do so because they see the opportunities that Indonesia offers. So it's a big country. It's an important country in this region. It's over 270 million people. And we really see the potential in terms of economic development, strong economic growth, sustainable, constant economic growth. And we really expect this economy to be a lot bigger in the next decade. And we want to be a part of that development. If you talk about Indonesia in terms of challenges, also compared to other countries, I think you could see that companies expect a couple of things from countries. So one of them is availability of human talent. And I think there Indonesia still has a challenge. And if you look at the education level, the number of students, of course it's increasing dramatically. But still compared to some other countries, this is a challenge for Indonesia. And another thing is what companies want, primarily, maybe more than everything else, is predictability. They want to know predictability. They want to know what to expect.
So stability of governance and so on.
Yes, predictability of legislation, ease of doing business, administrative burden is an important factor. And what they've seen is that there have been some legislation that were implemented on a very short notice, and it takes companies time to adjust. And also what we've seen that some legislation had, let's say, a kind of a protectionist effect. So in terms of import restrictions, in terms of local content requirements. And these are sometimes challenging for private enterprises, and especially when this legislation changes frequently over time. So I think Indonesia still has a challenge. On the positive side, companies also mentioned that they find a very open door talking to governments here. They experience that the government is really there trying to help them, and I think that's important, and I think that really helps also
the
development of the economy.
communications to the Indonesian government are very, very well opened.
Yeah, that was the impression I got.